SEALs, Secret Service agents, FBI, elite operators. I've been around them all. We use this stuff in the interview room on terrorists.
How important is body language in everything?
55% of what you communicate to people is through your body. 38% is something called paralinguistics, your cadence, your tone, your voice. The most powerful personas or confidence is going to rob you of your ability to achieve things in life. I always say it, shut up. First day of training, shut your mouth. I also came from the Secret Service. No one's holding anybody's hand or cares about anybody's feelings.
Can you tell if someone is lying?
Welcome to Untapped, bringing you conversations with incredible people to inspire us and give us the tools to help untap our potential. Today's guest is Poumpouras, former Secret Service agent, best-selling author, and expert in resilience, communication, and mental toughness. She's protected US presidents, mastered the art of persuasion, and now she's here to share her secrets with you. In the episode, we learn how to read people like a pro and handle pressure like a Secret Service agent. This was a fascinating conversation, and we can't wait for you to hear it. So here's Poumpouras. Thanks so much for joining Untapped.
Thank you for having me.
It's a great pleasure. So you've had one of the most fascinating careers, Secret Service agents. You were one of the first responders in 9/11. You've received awards for your bravery, but you're also a body language expert. And I would love to dive into the importance of body language, what it can tell you about a person. And I'm also fascinated to know, can you tell if someone is lying?
Okay, so two separate questions. The first part, when it comes to communication, 55% of what you communicate to people is through your body. So everybody's so focused on the things that they say, my speech. It's actually 7%. 7%. When you speak, people absorb 7% of what you say. When they're looking at 55% is about your body language and about 38% is something called paralinguistics. It's this, it's like what you sound like when you speak, your cadence, your tone, your voice, hi, I'm Evie, right? Those are the things. So it's interesting. So when it comes to body language or what the body is doing, that's what people read the majority off of you. So when people are like, oh, I want to be with authority, I want to be perceived as an authority figure. Well, what is your body telling you? So, and it's in reverse because in our heads we think we memorize notes, we memorize this, I have to say this stuff. And it's actually one of the last things people really take in. Now, the other question you asked me was about detecting deception. Like, how do you know if people are lying? I mean, you can. Everybody's got that. Everybody has a radar of deception. You know it, you feel it when you talk to people. The problem is because sometimes you can't articulate it in your head. Why don't I like this person? Why does this feel off? You don't listen to it. You don't trust it. And then you're not picking up the cues. Also, a lot of times the people that betray us and it's not even good people lie. Like it's not always just sometimes people lie because they don't want to share a lot. They don't want you to know too much about them. So sometimes people do that not to deceive, but they're just like, I don't want you to know all of me, which is fine. But with detecting deception, it's understanding that person and their baseline. So you just have to talk to people, figure out like who they are when they're in a kind of a normal, relaxed state. And then what you do is organically, you start to see shifts as you're speaking to them about specific things and what's happening. That's like the 10,000-foot version. There's a lot more to it in detecting deception, but why we're bad at it is because we're so invested in the outcome of something. So if I want something to really work out with a business partner, I'm going to ignore all the cues or the red flags because it's not to my benefit. So I choose to say, I didn't see that, or I let it go. That's why after the fact, when you have a falling out with someone or something happens, what do? You know what? It was there. Mm-hmm. This happened, that happened, because now you're more objective and you're not seeing it through those kind of rose-colored glasses. It's really like in the most simplest of forms.
So that's similar to a relationship then. You often put up with your partner until it's over. And
because
then
you're
you look
invested.
back and you go, I wish I'd have noticed all the red flags that were there, but you choose not to see them.
It's actually a really classic example for people because you have a partner, you're invested in the relationship, you want it to work. And so you choose to you let that piece go, you let that little piece go. And sometimes you don't even realize you're doing it because it's to your benefit. You want the relationship to work. The thing is though, when you miss all that stuff and it happens continuously, what does it do? It compounds, and then you look 5 years later, you're like, why did I?
It's funny you say that because we were having a conversation before this, and I feel like I'm quite a people pleaser. Sometimes I don't want to cut people off because I want to give them a second chance. I want them to like me, so I try and give them. Whereas you're quite cold. Like I feel, what I'm trying to say is you would find it quite easy to cut someone off if they're not bringing something to your life. Whereas I always try and say, well, they could, blah, blah, blah. But
it depends on the person again. And I'm not, it's not a cutting off exercise. I think people naturally drift into what matters to them.
Mm.
Like, I think I'm fortunate to feel like I have a purposeful career, right, that I enjoy and I love. So that takes precedence to quite a few friendships that I would have had. Family and purpose are kind of important to me. And if it's not in line with that, it probably is an easy decision for me. I think life is quite short.
Maybe it's balance too. It's interesting. You said, I want people to like me. Maybe, and that's where the people pleasing comes in, because the goal is to be likable. And it's like, who doesn't want to be liked? Nobody. There's nobody that's like, yeah, I want the world to hate me.
Yeah.
But I think if you look at it from, I'm not pursuing likability. I'm pursuing, is this healthy for me? Is there respect? And kind of living in truth too, because sometimes we'll look at people, that person has potential, but that's great.
But if they're not living up to that potential and they're not seeing it through, then
right,
and it's hurting you,
right.
then.
And if you're looking like you should be this way, you should be that way, right? I would like them to be that way, and they're looking at you like, who are you to tell me I should be? I'm fabulous as I am.
Yeah.
As I am,
Can we dig into body language and its importance?
Who's lying to you? Who do we need to assess?
Nobody. No. I just.
You don't think?
I'm curious. I'm curious about lying. Well, I'm curious about whether or not everybody lies.
Everybody lies.
I believe everybody lies.
Everybody lies. Look, 3 primary ways people lie. They just flat out lie to you. It's like, I've made it up from beginning to end. Like, it's just fake all around. The second way is little truth, little lie, little truth, little lie.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like this seesaw thing where you're kind of like, well, he said truth here, but I guess this is a truth here. But that's how, another way. And just the basic way the majority of human beings lie is just lying through omission. I just leave that part out, so I don't feel like I'm lying. Most people have empathy, and I don't mean it like in a woo-woo way. I mean it like it's an actual thing. When people have empathy, they are less likely to want to cause harm to another person. In fact, even when you look at just crime, the crime rates, those who commit crime have less empathy because they don't feel bad. So lying's kind of in that same thing. I don't like to lie because I feel bad. Most people.
Would you be able to tell somebody if somebody was less empathetic by their body language? So how important is body language?
No.
We've got into it, but you wouldn't be able to tell if somebody's less empathetic. How important is body language in everything?
The way you judge people based on empathy or lack of empathy is just how they treat you.
Okay.
You will know without a shadow of a doubt where people stand because people show you. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this great ancient Greek quote from Odysseus, from Greek mythology. It says, don't listen to your opponent, look at them. It'll tell you everything. And so when I say look at them, it's like, look at just like what they're showing you in their behavior. So body language is good, whereas like, let's say I ask you a specific question and you do something, let's do something silly. Like we're sitting here the whole time like this. I ask you a question about, how do you like working with Spencer? And you're like, Evie, that's it. That's all you did.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole time you've been sitting a certain way.
Mm.
Just that, you just took a moment to just readjust yourself. So it's almost like, it doesn't mean you're about to lie to me. It just means that there's something there.
Okay.
Or maybe
That
you
was
are
very
about to
interesting.
lie.
That
we just
was
did.
very interesting. Because if you asked me, I was about to go. So, yeah.
Hang on a sec.
Right.
But it's a very simple thing. All you have to do is just be like, why did he just do that? That's it. And so if I'm good at what I do, all I'm going to do is probe further.
Do you find yourself in your position with the skill set that you have over analyzing people?
No, it's habit. I don't sit there and analyze people. I'm just so used to, you have to think I've done hundreds, thousands, who knows, interviews of people. So you just start to it's like anything you practice. It's muscle memory. I don't think about it. A little bit like driving a car.
Mm-hmm.
The beginning, first time you drive a car, you're just like, oh my God, I got to look in this mirror and this mirror
Yeah.
and this mirror. And it's good for you to know what's going on around you. So if you're informed, like I did the BBC Maestro course, that's why I'm here in London, right? And we split up the course into 3 parts. The course is called The Art of Influence. The first part is self-assessment, self-awareness. So because you're 50% of the equation in any interaction, first you got to master you. So that was the first part of the course. The second was, now you have to understand the person across from you. And that's where reading people comes in, and not just body language. What are they saying to you? What motivational mindset are they in? What type of persona? There's like animal archetypes we use in the intelligence community to help identify, oh, I've got this animal. And then there's different versions of that. So that's the other 50%. What's the other person? Because that's how you make the 100. And then when it comes to influence, then only can you influence somebody. Because you have to have those two core fundamentals in place. And then even with influence, you don't manipulate people.
I recently read John Ronson's The Psychopath Test.
Oh, no kidding.
Do you know the book?
No.
Are you familiar with psychopathic traits?
Well, I interviewed criminals. I have a master's in forensic psychology, and I teach as an adjunct professor. I teach psychology. So yes, I'm sorry. That's a long version.
I mean,
I had
that
to
is a flex.
I actually had to walk myself through that. I'm like, can I? I'm like, yes, I can. So please continue.
No, I was curious as to whether or not you might be able to assess signs of narcissism or dangerous people. So it's a thought process that psychopaths, 1 in 100 people are a psychopath, and that we live and work with psychopaths. And psychopaths, of course, can be very dangerous. Some can be less dangerous, of course. And I'm just curious as to whether or not you could share with us any red flags that you might have for people and their kind of more toxic natures.
Okay, so the psychopath, actually the correct term is antisocial personality disorder. That's what it falls under. There's a lot of people think antisocial personality disorder is, I sit in the corner at parties, I don't talk to people. That's not it. Antisocial personality disorder is what you're leaning towards. I am antisocial, meaning I don't socialize well. I don't fall into the norm. When everybody's sitting down in class, I'm standing up and being obnoxious and interrupting, right? That's what it is. So core fundamentals, you brought up narcissistic personality disorder and antisocial. Those two personality disorders, the one primary thing that they have in common is lack of empathy. I don't feel bad. That's why those individuals actually who have antisocial, and when you're young, it actually starts with oppositional defiant disorder. So you can actually see it start in somebody when they're young. You can actually look at somebody at 13, 14, 15, and you can start to see signs of he might or she might have this antisocial personality disorder, which is what common people say, sociopath, psychopath. Yes.
Sorry. In the case of empathy, can it not be a case-by-case thing? So I will gladly be completely candid with you. I will be wildly unempathetic towards most people's situation, problem, pain, if it's self-induced or if it's undeserving of empathy, in my opinion. Does everyone have to, must you be empathetic all of the time to kind of all issues, or can you pick and choose how you're empathetic?
So empathy is like, let's just look at it from a crime perspective because it's simple. It means I can hurt you and not feel bad. I can take from you and not feel bad. That's what I mean. I don't mean, oh, you're having a bad day, I'm going to cry with you.
You're hungover, I don't care type of thing.
Or, you're trying to, it sounds terrible, like lose weight and you're having like pizza after every night. And I'm kind of like, I don't know how to help you. You keep making these decisions, they bring you here. So there's different types of empathy. So you're talking about, you're looking at the world and people in a way, and it's fine. You're looking at really kind of people's actions and performance. And you're saying, I can't feel bad for you when you probably do this. That's what you're referring to, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay, that's different. When I say empathy, I mean you're capable of hurting someone or shafting someone or tricking a business partner or stealing from them and not feel bad. That's the level I'm talking about.
Sleep is the most impactful and natural performance-enhancing tool at our disposal. Without it, my body would simply not be able to recover and repair itself after I go for a run or a workout. It is essential to maintaining and enhancing our well-being. With Whoop, I'm able to track my sleep every single night and how it affects the type of activities I choose to do the following day. Think of sleep as your bank balance. The best thing is that every single day you get the chance to deposit more into the bank so that in the long term, you withdraw in the form of energy expenditure when you need it most. Whoop breaks down sleep so as to take the guesswork out of the equation. Not only do you get guidance each day around how much sleep you need based on your activity that day and what your optimal time to go to bed is, but with Whoop, you get a detailed analysis of the quality of your sleep and what you can do to be improving it. In addition to monitoring your sleep, you'll also get detailed insights into your recovery, stress levels, strain, and feedback on how your lifestyle choices impact each of these metrics. If you are interested in taking control of your health and wellness so that you can excel in all aspects of your life, you have to go and check out Whoop. Go to join.whoop.com/untapped to try Whoop for free for 30 days today. This is a quick message to say thanks so much for listening. And if you haven't already, please follow and subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. We're still a new podcast, and with your support, we can keep bringing you amazing conversations. If you just take a few seconds to subscribe, follow, and review us wherever you are, it really does help support the show. Thanks again for listening. Now, back to the show.
One would need to be mentally ill, though, in order to not feel empathy in those situations. So you are somewhere on that mental disorder spectrum, I'm assuming, if you do not feel empathy in those situations.
Then you would fall under one of those likely. There's other criteria you have to fit to also be antisocial. It can't just be one. There's multiple things it's something called the DSM-5 they have in the US. It's a manual that literally tells you check these boxes off, and if people check off a certain number, then you can put them in that category. So there are those things like antisocial people, psychopaths, very charismatic, very outgoing, very, charming.
I was going to say that quite often or not, they're very charming, right?
Yes, they can be very ingratiating. They pull you in. There's certain personas or characteristics. A lot of them have a lot of issues with money. You'll see debt. You'll see issues with finance. You'll see that they have an inability to function well in society. Mm-hmm. So when narcissistic personality disorder, which a lot of people think is actually massively on the rise. So I would argue, how many did you say to me before? You threw a number at me.
Well, according to John Lonson, 1 in 100 people are psychopaths. In the sense that
I would say it's probably maybe a little, I don't think it might be a little less right now.
It's something like, according to him again, it's something like 25% of inmates in prisons are psychotic or psychopathic. 80% of crime that happens within jail is committed by psychopaths. And in the sense that if you're at the tube station, you're on an elevator or an escalator or whatever it's called, broadly speaking, most people in his opinion are the same. But there's psychopaths who are more in tune with a predatory animal than they are a human being. They have no empathy whatsoever. They are aggressively seeking, promotion, their best interests, like feeding in the wild, and they don't have human behavior in the same way that most people do.
People have been trying to understand human behavior from a really long time ago. I don't necessarily think of it somebody's a bit more primitive or they're more of there was this theory a long time ago, by a biological positivism where there's a physiological trait where you're a little bit more, you haven't evolved enough, you're a little bit more primitive, which is why you behave this way. I don't know if that holds true anymore. That's something the way they try to, when people are trying to figure out why people do that stuff. I think there's a variety of reasons. Mental health issues, massive when it looks at people, when you look at people who are incarcerated, just standard. There are issues there. But I think when you look at behavior in general, narcissism is definitely on the rise. Probably antisocial, I would think, is also on the rise. So
why?
Where we're very identity, Western civilization, me. What's in it for me? What do I get? We're less community driven. So the more we've evolved, if you lived in a village, you cared about what your village thought, right? You worked together so you could all stay alive. So now we're in this culture where it's gone so extreme, and you could even argue it's hurt our ability to have good character, because I'm so an individual that I'm on my pursuit of my path, and everybody, you get out of my way. And so when you hear you're so special, you're so smart, you're so this, and you're not really getting critiques anymore, or you're told to live in your truth versus the truth. Now you start to almost like pull out parts where I'm so about me and I am less connected to the outside world and other people. And so that's where the narcissism comes in. Throw in social media. Hey, I'm going to take a photo. I'm going to take a photo here. Everybody needs to see me everywhere. And then all those elements just have exacerbated what's going on in the world. It's just such a really in-depth thing. There's a lot of stuff, actually, studies coming out there that are doing that. But you're less about what's best for the whole, and more about what's best for me. But in the pursuit of me, I screw other people over.
I feel like maybe before I was a father, I was much more about myself. I think having kids for me really made me see the bigger picture and understand and be more compassionate towards others and understand what's going on. And I think, do you find that with a lot of people? They have kids and they go, actually, now I need to grow up.
I think it's kids. It could be age too, maturation. Like, I don't know about you guys, but when I was like early 20s, I thought about who? Me.
Yeah.
I wasn't really thinking about other people. So I think
we weren't great for that either.
Yeah. So I think life and experience kind of helps you evolve with that. But I do think these other factors just like keep everybody sucked in this hole. And where I kind of think that there's times where we don't always do the right thing by humanity. Like, or even just the way we talk to each other. Just look at tweets or posts. Like, people write atrocious things. And you're thinking, you thought that and you typed that, and something in your head told you it was okay to put that on into the world.
Also, in a world where social media is destroying confidence in some cases in young people, can you give us some tips on how to appear if you are looking to exude confidence?
So I'm going to pull back because there's a lot of pieces to this, but I'm going to throw something back at you both. Why do you need confidence?
I think self-doubt is kind of a destroyer of dreams. I think if I wanted to go and set myself a huge goal and I beat myself up about being incapable of achieving that, you're never going to start. And that's a crime as far as I'm concerned. If you throw darts at a dartboard blind, you're going to hit the dartboard. Okay, you've got to throw the darts. Was there a time in your life that you weren't confident? That surprises me. Well, I only see confidence in you and jokes and...
I think a lot of my confidence and personality is hiding the lack of confidence that I have. I think I'm quite good at pretending I'm confident. And I think when people see me, they think arrogant, confident. If you was to ask my mum, is Jake confident? I'm the biggest self-deprecator.
Do you think she'd say no?
100%. To answer your question, I think it's important to be confident because it's a form of power.
Right. But here's the thing. But do you need it to do what you set out to do? That's the thing. Confidence is the biggest bullshit that they sell people. Because the idea is you must have confidence to do this. So you said something, I'm not confident, but I do them anyway.
Yeah.
You said it, I do stuff, I just do it. That's the thing. But what happens is we just tell people, find your confidence. And once you get your confidence together, then you can go do something. That's what people hear. That's why most people don't do their potential. That's why they are untapped.
Isn't it the wrong way around? So do people gain confidence from achievement?
From doing and from failure. And from failure. So if this is me, this is what I want to do, right? I want to do X. I want to launch a podcast. Let's say I want to launch this podcast. But you know what? I'm not sure. I don't know about stuff. I've not done it before. You know what? Let me go get some confidence. Confidence. Anybody see my confidence? I'm looking for it. Anybody? Oh, shit, there it is. I got some. There it went. Oh, I just left. Confidence. And what you've done, instead of just going from A to B, you've just gone on this crazy wild journey looking for this fabulous confidence that you've been sold that you need in order to do stuff. Confidence is going to rob you of your ability to achieve things in life because you will chase confidence rather than just doing what you need to do. And the ironic thing is, it's exactly what you said. Once you do things, then the confidence comes after. I have never paused and been like, gotta get my confidence before I apply to the NYPD. Oof, need some confidence before I go to the Secret Service Academy. I didn't even have confidence when I wake up in the morning. I'm like, today I might get sent home. That's the issue. It's become this like overrated thing, and it actually causes the most damage to people because they either don't start something because they've completely lost their path, or they start it and then they don't finish because they think they need it.
Would you say that somebody listening at home, not caring is important? Because I'd say I care too much sometimes. So
you care a lot.
I know, but would you say having the ability to not care and just being like, actually, I don't care what you think of me. Do you think that can help anyone?
You have to care, but you have to care about what you're doing. You have to care about what are you doing? Are you competent? Are you showing up? Are you doing what you say you're going to do? Are you consistent? Like, you should care about that.
Yeah.
And if you've put your energy, are you prepared? So if you put your energy there, then that's when the competence comes out, the confidence comes out. That's how you just organically do it without getting in your head and trying to manufacture yourself to be a certain way so that it can resonate with people. Because now I'm not trying to do a good job. I'm trying to get you to like me. But maybe if I just do a really good job and I deliver and I actually do right by you,
you're going to like me.
You're going to like me. And if I'm an ass and I don't show up, I don't do what I say, I'm not consistent, I'm not prepared, I'm not a good employee or peer or friend or co-host, you're going to do what? You're not going to like me. You're not going to want to work with me. You're not going to want to be around me. And you know what chances are? Other people feel the same way. And that's how you also exude authority. But the most commanding personalities I've ever seen, and I was around elite operators, like I've worked with SEALs, Secret Service agents, FBI, military, Rangers, like I've been around them all. The most powerful personas were quiet. The most lethal guys. They weren't loud. They weren't in your face. They didn't give a shit to tell you about what they've done or anything like that. You wouldn't know because it was already there. That's what I learned. Confidence and strength and authority is quiet. It's the person who's very loud and in everybody's face. That's where I'm like, why are you trying so hard?
Yeah, why? So the loudest person in the room is often the weakest. That's a massive saying, right?
It's the strongest, the quietest person in the room is the one you need to be like.
How important is it to listen?
Oh, I always say it, shut up. That's the first thing I learned in polygraph school. First day of training, shut your mouth. Shut up. It is not about you. Narcissism, antisocial. It's me, 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 me. So you can do that all day long. And what's the goal? For you to advertise to everybody who you are so that you can, because you're insecure and you want to fill up your ego, or are you looking to contribute to the world? Like, I'm not trying to be deep or philosophical. It's like, but what are you trying to do? But when you're so self-focused, you have to think of it this way. I'm sucking the life force out of everything around me because I need it, because there's a void. Rather than me having that life force and projecting it out into the world and giving. But also
100%.
when you listen, you get a better chance of reading people.
Yeah.
Listen, talking is hard. Actually, it's funny because I'm going to give a shout out to Hannah, who's sitting out there from BBC Maestro. When we're in the car, I never speak. She's like, you're very quiet. I said, I know, I'm sorry, I hate talking. Which is ironic because I do these. Because I like to be quiet. I like to absorb the world. I like to listen. It's also good for my mind because I recharge when I'm quiet. And
so I guess you learn
myself.
more by being quiet, right?
Yes.
If you're always shouting about and I am this, I am that.
But how are you going to read somebody else?
You can't because you're too busy amplifying yourself.
The cognitive load it takes? Because I would do especially when I did polygraphs and criminal interviews, I had to juggle reading my suspect across from me, asking questions, assessing their behavior, getting them ready for a polygraph, asking my following question, paying attention to the red flags, and doing speaking. The cognitive load that exists there is, how are you going to manage all that? You're not going to be good at all that. But if you can learn to just drop questions and be quiet, they do all the work and they reveal everything.
It's so true. I'm just thinking, I'm smiling because not that I have the answers to everything at all, but I've certainly grown as a kind of business person over the last 5, 6, 7 years, call it, with CleanCo in particular. I used to be so vocal on the board calls and just be across everything and talk, and now exactly what you say. I'll ask you a question and then I won't say anything for 2 hours type of thing, and it's everything develops around you and everybody else chimes in. And it's almost peculiar that you're not speaking. So people wonder why you're not speaking. And it's like it creates a whole different vibe to meetings. Saying less, I mean, like does more for the meeting.
I also like, on a side note, not that you're doing this, but it also makes you seem a bit more, I don't want to say mysterious, but not common.
I was just going to say, I really wish I could do that, because I've always wanted to be that quiet, mysterious guy, but I've never been able to do it.
You're not mysterious.
I'm not mysterious at all.
No.
And it's annoying. I wish I was mysterious. I wish I could sit and be quiet. I often don't talk if I don't know anything about the situation, though. Like, I'm not one of the people that would chime up and try and have an opinion on something that I know nothing about. So sometimes if I go quiet, it's just because I haven't got a clue what's going on.
But you are that. You only speak when maybe you have something to share.
Yeah.
And you just said it. When I don't know, I like to listen.
And that's where I learn.
I don't monopolize the room or the energy because I feel like I have to talk.
Mm.
You know, and especially in business, if you've got a team around you, how are you going to learn if you're doing all the chattering? I learned this myself. I when I'm in places like where it's new to me, you're in charge. What do you want me to do?
This is an advertisement from BetterHelp. There are a lot of misconceptions out there about therapy. People think it's just somebody telling you what to do, but in all honesty, therapy helps you self-reflect and get out of your own way. My Untapped journey wasn't just a physical one, but a mental one too. Having access to therapy has not only helped me overcome challenges in my personal life, but helped me perform better as an athlete as well. It's not about having an instruction manual or being told what to do. You develop tools over time that you can use to be the best version of yourself and give yourself the best opportunity to be healthier and happier. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Build your support system with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/untapped. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/untapped.
Would you be able to give people at home listening little tips on how to be more confident?
I think it is important to try to exude that as well. Nobody wants to see you coming into a meeting or to a presentation where you're small and nobody wants that. Like, the first thing I always tell people, and I'll go back to what I said before, because it's helped me. Don't make it about you. Make it about them. What do they need from you? So when you do that first, your anxiety goes down because you're not thinking about yourself anymore. You're thinking about this human being across from me, or my team here is waiting for me to deliver some information to help with this project. That's where your energy should go. Less me, all them.
What do you need from me?
How can I be of service to you?
How can I help you?
How can I help you?
What do you need from this
Exactly.
situation? How can I best deliver it?
You watch your anxiety go down, because now it's not about how I sound or how I'm speaking, which most people don't care. They don't care. Just tell me what I need to know.
I tell my wife that nobody cares about us people. It is a strange thing, isn't it? Right? Like, you pick up a newspaper, you read about something, 10 minutes later, it's old news. I think it's easy to feel like people are invested in you or care about stuff.
Everyone's got their own shit going on.
I think everyone is interested in themselves and those closest to them.
Well, you know what's interesting? So we all have think of your brain or your cognition, your load as a bathtub, right? So when you're adding all that stuff in there, a bathtub can only hold so much water. So your cognitive load's the same way. I always think of it like my bathtub's full. And so if I'm doing this podcast, promoting BBC, getting on a plane later, then doing the news later, then going home to my kid, making sure my husband's okay, making sure my mom's okay. If I'm juggling all these things, my bathtub's pretty full, right? So I can't add in all that frivolous stuff because it takes up space. The more you add, the more it takes up space, and now your bathtub's overflowing and you've got shit everywhere. That's how you think of it. So it's not that you're being callous. You're not being callous or cruel. It's just like, listen, I can only fit so much, and I can't fit all your stuff in here with it. I can express, I'm sorry you're going through that, but then I can't give you beyond that. Now, you don't have to tell people this, but that's what you're doing. It's your load. Your load is maxed out. But what we do is we keep adding to the load, and it stresses you out. You physically then can't get up to go to the gym. You can't take care of yourself. You are getting sick. I've been there.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, whoa. Like, what am I doing? I remember once there was a stretch where I was just getting sick after sick after sick. And I was like, I'm doing this. Like, it's just like there's too much you're adding in. And there's something really other interesting. It's called decision fatigue. The more decisions you have to make throughout the day, the more tired you become, the more fatigued you become as the day goes on. I saw this firsthand. President Barack Obama, at night, the stewards, the Navy kind of did his food and clothing for all presidents. He had the same suit. If you look back at all his videos and interviews, he's wearing the same suit, same color suit, same color tie, same color shirt. He had the same suit across the board. He designed that because he didn't want to have to wake up in the morning and use his cognitive load to pick out what he was going to wear. I'm going to wear all the same stuff. Einstein did it. Think of Stephen Jobs. What did Stephen Jobs wear all the time?
Black turtleneck.
I'm busy. My bathtub is full. I don't even have time to pick out my outfit.
Get rid of one extra decision that he has to make in a day.
Yes. So all the stuff you're saying, that's what that is. You're just trying to keep your load light so you can perform here, right?
What about tone? So you said at the very beginning of the interview that only 7% of what is said is actually heard, and a large part of it is tone. I get pulled up for my tone from time to time. What kind of tips could we
What do
learn?
they say about your tone? Like, are you too direct?
I'm pretty rigid sometimes, yeah. Just like if, as I said, if I'm on one of my missions, which I find myself in kind of all the time at the moment, I'm very direct. I'm very, down the barrel. It's not free of emotion, because I think that makes it sound robotic, but it's quite, it's not particularly fun or vibey. It's just more, it's more serious in nature.
Look, it depends on the person. So you can put a lot of energy into this stuff. It depends on the person. If you have a relationship where you're really trying to cultivate it, like a really good friend or a co-host who maybe needs you to be a little warmer for him, I'm not saying it's true, but if it matters,
it's extremely true.
If it matters to you and he matters to you, then it's okay to give him a little bit of warmth. I'm not talking about being overly nice, overly kind, overly polite, or holding people's hands. I agree with you. But you can be warm in, how are you feeling today?
Or you've done a good job.
I love the way that this is coming around like it's about you.
It's a therapy session.
Yeah. Are you all right in there?
But I use this stuff because, and this is where I'm like, you will be more successful in business. I've just noticed this. And this is what I'm sharing with you is actually science and research. We use this stuff in the interview room on terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
People that just they hated you to your core. But I had to bring in warmth, because through warmth, I get what I need. And I can do it in a way where they can want to give it to me. One of the things, and I'm a very instrumental person, which is how you are, and I have to be careful, because in some situations, I have to bring more warmth, because I'm kind of like boom, 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 boom. I also came from the Secret Service. No one's holding anybody's hands or cares about anybody's feelings. So when I went back to the outside world, talking that way didn't land well. So if I wanted the best from people, I did have to bring in a little bit of warmth. Here's why. You can get what you want in the short term. What you don't want to happen is you don't want people to harbor ill will against you.
Mm-hmm.
They'll resent you.
Mm.
And so if you care about long-term relationships, and this is for relationships that you genuinely want to last, you'll bring in a little bit of warmth if you feel if that person needs it, just to help the relationship last. So it's kind of like, I want you to think of it, meet people where they are at certain moments, depending on what they need. So I'm like with you, I'm like, I'm busy, let's go. But there are times where I'm like, all right, I care about this relationship. It doesn't have to be an intimate one. It can be a business one. But this person needs to talk to me right now about X, Y, and Z. I may have zero interest to talk about this personal matter going on in their life. I'm not the therapist, but this is what they need from me from now, at this moment. I'll give them that. I'm not going to do it all the time.
Could either of us make a good agent, having just met us?
The assessment is so involved. It's not an easy, like on appearance, yes. For like the only thing I can judge is just from a physical fitness standpoint, because it does play a big part in the job, and just from your background and what I know, then yes, from that, aspect. But they look at lifestyle. They look at I studied in Italy. I went to college in Italy. I did semesters there. I studied overseas. They sent agents to my college in Rome to interview my college professors to find out what kind of student I was. I think that they like certainty. I think that because you're also around like
Screwed then, mate.
it's not for everybody. It's not an easy job. I would do the polygraphs for the hiring actually.
Yeah.
So I wasn't part of the HR team, but in the U.S. Secret Service, I did criminal polygraphs. But also, if you want to be an agent, you have to take and pass one, which is no fun. I've took my fair share, and they really like dive into your life and ask you really what seem like very inappropriate questions, because they really want to get to know you, and it's not an easy thing because sometimes a mistake you made a really long time ago, could it cost you? It could. It could be like, we can't oversee this. So there's some things where they're steadfast. There are some other things where they're kind of like, just tell us the truth and then we'll figure it out. The one thing you don't want to do is go in there and lie. And then they find out. That's kind of massive integrity. But then there's written exams you take, boards you sit, like interview panels. So there were people that you would think shoo-in to get in, and they wouldn't get in. There were people who were legacy candidates, either the brother of a brother or the son of a father. And anytime I had those polygraphs, I didn't want them. I'm like, I don't want it. I know this person's going to fail. Because it's like, oh, he's a shoo-in, he's so-and-so's son. I'm like, you don't know anything about anybody, truly, like, because it's really about, they want to know like who you are when nobody's watching. And sometimes who we've been when nobody was watching. I'm always thankful I got in super young because I might have fudged that up at some point.
You said at the beginning about it was hard to assess us body language wise, but now you spoke to us, you've seen our tone, you've seen the way we speak. Could you assess us more? And are we extremely different, would you say?
You are different, but it's also come out in our conversation. Like you're very relaxed. Like even the way you're sitting. He's sitting with his leg crossed, and like we're getting into the weeds here, right? But you're sitting with your legs crossed. You're a bit more like ready, kind of, I don't want to say proper, just kind of like at attention, right? I'm ready to go. I'm at attention. And you're just like, hey, what's up, everybody? We're cool. We're cool. I'm Mr. Empathy here. I feel you. I
got you.
Yeah. Spencer's like, who am I firing?
Yeah.
I'm clearing house. Did you perform?
No one
if
yet,
you didn't,
actually. I'm very happy with the new team.
You can do the firing. It's
that's
fine.
okay, but you're task-oriented. But we can exude. But that's the headspace you're in at the moment. But so I think it's really important to pay attention to people because later you might be somewhere else. That's why I always say just don't label people. Just look at what they show you. Try to meet them there. In business, I always try to meet people there just because I care about the longevity of what I'm trying to create. Other people, Spencer, I'm like you. I'm like, I can't.
You said that you use you judge
Oh, the
someone.
animals?
The animals. What animals are we? Gone.
Oh, I didn't create this. It was created by two researchers, Dr. Lawrence and Emily Hampton.
It's changed his posture because you're hoping you're going to say he's a great big ape or something.
No. So there's like, it's just, they called animal archetypes. It's just another, it was based on research. Actually, the researchers are from the UK. And what they did is they were able to get interviews, thousands and thousands of interviews from law enforcement and a certain community. And then they were able to analyze the data and assess the behavior of people in the room. And what they found is there were 4 animal archetypes that people embodied, right? So you may be a little bit more of one than another. It's possible, but you also may move through these animal archetypes, also depending on who you're with, right? You might be different around your mother.
I'm a poodle with my
right?
Yeah.
Versus when you're with
yeah.
somebody else, right? So you would bring a different archetype. So
You're the furthest thing from a poodle, by the way.
So you would be, I would think you're lion. I would think you're lion. Lion is someone who's in control and sets the agenda.
Fantastic.
Right? I'm trying to be in control and sets the agenda.
Thank
but
you.
you don't want to be bad lion because there's a bad version of it. Bad version is I'm dogmatic, I'm demanding, I'm rigid. That's bad lion.
I don't think you're bad lion.
I don't think I'm a bad lion. I can be a bit rigid, but I'm
But
good,
you might
good rigid.
visit bad lion.
But if you get lion and I get something like pheasant in a minute,
what is he? Please give him something terrible.
Actually, the animals are there's all positive attributes. I think you are, based on what I'm saying, it's called monkey, and it's a positive thing.
Yes.
No,
I'll tell you that all day.
Monkey is warm, social, respectful. So he's very good in environments of connecting with people. You're going to be very good in environments of like people will connect with you, or people want to talk to you, Or, it's like, hey, how are you? Good. How are you? So you would bring that. But you might be that here now with me.
Mm-hmm.
But when you leave here, you might be another one. So monkey's warm, social, respectful. The bad version of that is pleading, desperate, and you may deal with those personalities. No.
No.
But you might deal with people who are like, hey, could you help me with this? Could you do that?
Yeah.
That version where you might be like, I don't have time.
Mm-hmm.
The other two animals are T-Rex, which is it's what I lean more towards. T-Rex is someone who's like, I'm quick just internally, and I know it's a flaw. If somebody calls me out on something or does something internally, I won't show it on the outside. I want to fight back.
Mm-hmm.
I want to prove you wrong. And it's not a great quality. There's a good version of T-Rex. Good version of T-Rex is you are frank, forthright, assertive. I'm going to hold my ground. I understand you're telling me this. I don't agree with you, and this is why. That's a good version. Bad version is sarcastic, punishing, talking down to you.
I'm delighted with lion.
So lion, T-Rex, monkey, and what is the last one?
The last one's mouse.
Oh, you're delighted you're not a mouse. You would have hated
You know
I
what's
imagine
funny,
I imagine there's nice aspects of mouse, right?
Mouse is actually, if you're going to be any animal, you want to be mouse. Because mouse is, I'm patient, I'm listening, right? I'm looking to learn. Mouse is the most powerful of the animals, which is funny because you would think, I don't want to be mouse.
Silent.
I'm listening, I'm quiet, I'm absorbing. That's
Steve Jobs
mouse.
was a mouse.
I don't think so. Like I don't know him personally, but I think he was a bit more lion, sometimes bad lion. Like there's stories out there that he was very, and I know this is all third hand, but he was very kind of like a certain way in working. But bad mouse would be, I'm weak, I'm avoidant. I go all the way out of my way to avoid conflict. And that's when people get rolled. That's why sometimes you'll see dynamics in relationships where you'll see someone who's mouse, like bad mouse, and then they've got a domineering partner.
So bad mouse is someone who's willing to get rolled and steamrolled.
They're
Weak.
They're avoidant. They're very submissive.
They go out their way to not have any conflict
They
with
don't
anyone.
want conflict. They're so adverse to conflict that they go out of their way not to have it, and they think they're doing the right thing. But what they do is when they've got a lion or a T-Rex, what that lion and T-Rex end up doing, if they're not aware, is they become worse. Like we don't want to label the person, we label the behavior that I see right now. And then we shift. I'm different with my husband versus different with my mom versus different with this person.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like I want to make sure like I didn't create this. Like this
No,
was the
it's cool.
Allisons, like power to them. They like really, but they helped the intelligence community because we would interview people. And it's times where you're like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, what do you do with someone who sits in the interview room and takes their chair and turns it around and just faces the wall? Like it helped give tools to us as interviewers. Like, where do you go when you have this dynamic of a person? How do you handle them?
Evie, I'm afraid that's all we have time for. You need to be somewhere else.
Are you being lying with me? Lying right now?
He's lying.
He's being lying.
I'm not.
See, I chat all day.
No. I think it's you actually who has to be somewhere else.
No,
We've taken so much away from that conversation. Honestly, it was so interesting. And we can't thank you enough for the time that you've given us today. So thank you.
I appreciate you and I appreciate what you're trying to do. I do think that people need to hear voices, and sometimes we don't have around us. I don't know about you guys, but growing up, I didn't really have, I don't want to, people that were in the space of what I wanted to do or strong voices in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think like this is a great way for people to just have a strong voice in their head to help them get to where they need to
just
go.
trying to give people tools.
Yeah. And you give them kind of a blueprint. It's kind of like, I'm not special. If I did it, you can too.
That's
Amazing.
exactly it. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Thank
Pleasure.
you.
Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed that episode. And if you want to hear more incredible conversations with extraordinary people to help unlock the potential within all of us, then please subscribe, follow, and review the show wherever you're listening or watching. Thanks again, and we'll catch you next week right here on Untapped. Is there anything more important than your brain, body, immunity, and overall health? It's a good question. I personally don't think so. That's where Vitals by Heights comes in. It's 20 essential nutrients packed into 2 daily capsules. Think High-impact B vitamins, omega-3s, and vitamin D3, everything you need to feel alert, stay active, and keep up with life. No nonsense, no fillers, just proper fuel made by those who know exactly what they're doing. I used to be a bit of a skeptic about supplements, but I quickly realized that diet and exercise weren't enough to be at the top of my game. I needed backup for my brain and body, and Vitals quickly became a part of my daily routine, keeping me sharp, focused, and somewhat sane. Honestly, just give it a go and see what it can do for you. You've got nothing to lose and so much to gain. Get 20% off your first month subscription at heights.com/untapped or use code UT20 at checkout.